When folks ask me what kind of videos I like to create and what's my ideal client, I really like clients that have stories to share and nonprofits. I really enjoy working with nonprofits as well as corporations, but really clients that have compelling stories to share. And what I mean by that, well, I'll give you an example. I'm Amani Channel. First of all, before I go any further, I'm Amani Channel. I am your neighborhood friendly video producer. I create content for brands and businesses to help grow influence, increase sales, or have a greater impact. So when you're talking about nonprofits, you're usually talking about impact, right? Because they're trying to make a difference. They might be trying to fundraise. They might be trying to share their story to highlight the difference that they're making in the community. And a client that I can think about that fits the bill is Youth Build USA. Now, what is Youth Build, you might ask? Well, Youth Build USA is a nationwide organization that has chapters all throughout the country. And what they do is they teach and they take higher at-risk youth and they teach them job skills. And there's also a college component to it. So they're getting higher education and they're also getting construction skills. They're learning construction skills. And sometimes the kids are getting their GEDs. Oftentimes these students are college dropouts. So they're making a huge difference in the community. And when Youth Build came to me, they had a grant they were working with from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they wanted to highlight students in Atlanta, the work they were doing in Atlanta, I believe Columbus, Ohio, as well as Portland, Oregon. This is a pretty big project. So I partnered with a cameraman named Mario Page. Mario Page is a DP here in Atlanta. And he was the main cameraman. So we shot here in Atlanta where I am locally. And we also, it also involves some travel, obviously. So we traveled to Columbus and Youth Build flew us out. And we shot in Columbus and followed and shadowed one of the Youth Build chapters there and talked to the leaders there as well as some of the students in the program. We hung out with the students. They were all outstanding youth. And we also flew out to Portland on a separate occasion and did the same thing. So it was pretty vast. There was a lot of interviews to go through. There was a lot of content to go through. And when I was interviewing the kids, so this is the thing, whenever you're creating a video, it's always great to start the video with a story of a youth, or in this case of a youth that was really, I'm thinking, help paint the picture for and set the tone for the piece. So someone who can be very relatable, who can draw the viewer into the story, because you always want to tell stories. It can't just be all facts and figures. You got to weave some emotion into the beginning of the story. And we got to Columbus. There's one student in particular who was like sharp. We went to the community college where he was attending, and he was like dressed in a suit. And his professor and the folks at Youth Build say he's always suited up. And so when we sat down and interviewed him, he just had a great story. He was like, came from a family where his dad and his brothers were like convicted felons, and he thought he was going to be a thug, and that's all he dreamed about. And then when he got exposed to the Youth Build program, it flipped his lid really. And so he became a student that we used to get into the story. I'm going to share part of it at the end of this video. And so Mario and I, we went to Portland, Columbus, and then we shot here in Atlanta. Now, when we got to Columbus, it was really interesting because we were returning from Columbus. We almost didn't make our flight. And so one of the flight attendants, Mario had his camera. Now, normally, cameramen, they fly with a lot of gear. And for the cameras, Mario liked to bring his camera with him. He didn't check it in because it was a high definition camera. It was a big body camera. And he was concerned about it getting damaged. And Mario was kind of if you know Mario Page, right? He worked in Chicago. He's worked here in Atlanta. If you know Mario Page, you know what I'm talking about. So Mario gets very passionate, I'll say, about his craft and about his equipment. And the flight attendant told him that he had to check his camera into the plane. And Mario immediately was like, I'm not checking my camera into the plane. I carried it on when I came here. I'm going to carry it on when I return to Atlanta because this thing could get damaged. You know how much this camera is? And it caused a whole, this is the last flight to Atlanta. It was like whatever day it was probably like a weekend, I want to say. It was like a Saturday or Sunday. Maybe it was a Friday. I don't remember. But whatever day it was, this is the last flight back to Atlanta. And Mario and the flight attendant were like this. and it got very heated. Mario actually broke his camera out and was like, I'm gonna record you. I'm gonna record you now. And he wasn't really recording because he didn't have it all hooked up, but it was just a scene that was created. And then what happened was the flight attendant told Mario that he could not board the plane because with the camera. And so I was just like hanging back. I was like, oh my Lord, like what's gonna happen? So so what happened was the pilot finally came up, was like the last one on board. He was like, what's going on? And Mario explained to him, and he was like, well, let's just see if the camera will fit in the overhead compartment. And the pilot led us on the plane, and Mario's camera fit, and we flew back to Atlanta. And so that was that. And so we went into post, and I wrote the script out. They approved the script. My editor was my good friend Rod Finch, and Rod cut the piece, and it was like a long piece. It was like 12 minutes. And so, dealing with a lot of sound, it just takes time because you have to kind of vet the interviews, write out the interviews, transcribe them. Then you have to write the piece in a compelling way, and you have to match the client's vision for what they envisioned for it. And it's just a process, right? And so at the end of the day, it was a very complete story. It told the story of students who are challenged, who have very socioeconomic challenges as well as educational challenges, and how this program really helped them get on the right track, or help them begin to get their lives on the right track. And so I'm going to start blabbing right now and I'll just show you the intro to the video, like the first couple of minutes of the piece. But I really enjoyed working with Youth Build on this project. And, these are the kind of projects that I really like to tell, the kind of stories that I really like to tell, stories that matter, right? And so here it is, Youth Build USA.
They exemplify academic excellence in the classroom. They're engaged, motivated, and on a pathway to success.
I had a dream that I always wanted to be a college student, but where I was headed in the past didn't make me seem like I was going to head in that direction.
James Mackey is on the right path now, but a few years ago, you wouldn't recognize him.
I was a gangster, a thug, wanna be hard type of dude. Education, cared nothing about. I was mainly in the streets, skipping class and selling and doing drugs at that time. My experience at high school was very little.
The Youth Build Columbus Community School changed his life.
When I was young, I always thought that I was going to be somebody, but at that period of time in my life, I wasn't doing nothing for myself. And Youth Build opened that door for me. The people, the teachers, the principal, the director, they all brought me in as a family.
Youth Build is a youth and community development program for young adults aged 16 to 24. The national network of Youth Build programs is addressing challenges in low-income communities, in areas of affordable housing, education, career development, community service, and leadership development.